Sergeant Daniel Cross sat alone in the dim control room of Haven 6, a small human outpost on the edge of explored space. The hum of the station's life support systems was the only sound, broken now and then by the faint buzz of a comms alert. His shift was almost over, just 3 more weeks and he could finally go back to Earth, but space had a way of ruining plans. The console in front of him flickered. A tiny red light blinked. It wasn't a normal transmission, too weak, too broken. Cross frowned and leaned forward. He tapped a few keys, boosting the signal. Static filled the room. Then through the noise, a voice, soft, shaking, almost. A whisper. "Mother, please, help me." Cross froze. The words were faint, buried under interference, but the tone, the fear, was clear. He checked the origin. The signal came from far beyond the patrol routes past the safe zones. There was no official human colony out there. Just empty space, pirate routes, and the occasional mining outpost. "Computer, translate language," he ordered. A moment later, the system replied, "Language, Tahlari. Translation incomplete." Tahlari. Cross knew the name. A peaceful, advanced, alien race, tall, graceful, and highly private about their affairs. They didn't ask humans for help. They didn't ask anyone for help. He played the message again. This time, more words came through. "Mother, they took me. I can't. I'm scared." Something twisted in his chest. He'd heard voices like this before, back during the war, when frightened civilians called for help that never came in time. The duty log said to forward alien transmissions to the diplomatic office. The rules were clear, but the diplomatic office wouldn't move fast. By the time the message went through official channels, whoever sent it would be long gone. Cross pressed the comms button. "This is Sergeant Cross calling command. I've picked up a distress signal. Possible kidnapping. Talari origin." The reply came minutes later, calm and cold. "Stand down, Sergeant. That's a foreign matter. No jurisdiction. Forward the Mai. Signal to Central and continue your watch." Cross clenched his jaw. "Sir, this is a live distress." "Stand down. That's an order." The channel clicked off. For several minutes, Cross sat still, staring at the blinking red light on his console. He'd followed orders his whole life. Orders kept you alive. Orders kept things in control. But sometimes, orders left people to die. He pulled out his personal data tablet, running the signal through a different filter, his own tracking software from his war days. The location came up, 3 jumps away, in unpatrolled space. Cross glanced at the security cameras. The control room was empty. Quietly, he entered a maintenance override, locking the door. Then he sent a single message to the outpost's hangar. "Prep Shuttle Delta 4 for departure." The hangar was silent except for the low hiss of fuel lines and the faint echo of Cross's boots. Shuttle Delta 4 wasn't big or fancy, just fast enough to outrun trouble and tough enough to take a few hits. Perfect for an unsanctioned trip into dangerous space. He loaded his kit, combat armor, medpack, a rifle, 3 extra magazines, and a small dented metal flask. It had been a gift from a friend who never made it back. As he stepped aboard the shuttle, the hangar doors began to close behind him. The autopilot engaged, and the station grew smaller in the rear cameras. He had no backup, no official orders. No one even knew he was gone. The shuttle's engines roared as it entered hyperspace. Hours later, the first waypoint came into view. A dead mining station drifting near an asteroid belt. The distress signal was stronger now, still weak, but steady. Cross slowed the shuttle and scanned the area. Wreckage floated in space, metal plates, burned escape pods, and twisted support beams. Something violent had happened here. His sensors picked up faint life signs on one of the larger debris chunks. He maneuvered closer and found an escape pod half buried in wreckage. Inside was a Talari guard, armor scorched, breathing shallow. Cross opened the hatch. I'm human. I'm here to help. The guard's eyes widened, then narrowed with suspicion. Humans? Why? His voice was weak, picked up a distress call. Someone asking for her mother. The guard's expression changed instantly, shock, then urgency. The princess. They took her. Cratha Syndicate. Cross. Had heard of the Cratha. Pirates, slavers, killers. They operated on fear and cruelty, selling their captives to the highest bidder. How long ago? Cross asked. 2 days. They will leave this sector soon. If you don't, she is gone forever. Cross gave the guard a quick injection from his med pack. Hang tight. I'll send coordinates for rescue. I'm going after her. The guard caught his wrist. Human, protect her. She is everything to my people. Cross nodded once, then sealed the pod and marked it for pickup. The second waypoint was deep in Cratha territory. Cross kept his shuttle dark, moving between asteroid shadows. He spotted the target, a black spiked transport ship heavily guarded by 2 smaller escorts. Through the viewport, he could see rows of barred windows, holding cells. He didn't know which one held the princess, but the signal was coming from there. The Cratha ship was prepping for a hyperspace jump. If it left, she would vanish into the Syndicate's network, impossible to track. Cross's hands tightened. On the controls, he'd been in bad odds before. Bad odds were just another day for a human soldier. All right, princess, he muttered. Let's get you home. The Cratha transport ship loomed ahead, black and menacing, drifting in space like a predator waiting for its prey. From his cockpit, Daniel Cross studied its design. Thick armor plating, turret arrays on each side, and an ugly row of metal, spikes along the hull. Cratha ships always looked like something built to scare people before killing them. The ship's engines pulsed with an orange glow, preparing for hyperspace. Cross knew he had only minutes before it jumped. Once it was gone, finding the princess would be like finding a single grain of sand in an endless desert. He pushed the throttle forward. The small shuttle glided silently toward the transport's docking port. He shut down all non-essential systems. No lights, no comms, no active shields. The ship became a ghost in space. The closer he got, the more his mind sharpened. His breathing slowed. His eyes scanned every movement on his radar. Old instincts from the war returned. Back then, these moments, the few minutes before a mission, were the clearest, most focused parts of his life. The docking clamps locked with a soft metallic thud. Cross grabbed his rifle and slung it over his shoulder. The shuttle's airlock hissed open, revealing the cold, dim metal corridor of the Cratha ship. He moved slowly, his boots making no sound on the grated floor. The smell hit him first: oil, rust, and something worse: the smell of fear. He passed holding cells, most empty, some containing silent figures who looked away when he passed. Slavery broke people fast. The Cratha knew that. The princess's signal came from deep in the ship, behind layers of corridors and locked doors. Cross disabled the security cameras as he went, using a small device that fried their circuits. If they didn't know, he was. Here yet? He intended to keep it that way. Halfway through the third corridor, he spotted his first guard, a Cratha soldier, tall, insect-like, with chitin armor and 2 sets of arms, stood near a door holding a plasma spear. Cross raised his rifle but didn't shoot. Noise was his enemy. Instead, he reached into his belt and pulled out a magnetic pulse grenade. He tossed it toward the wall behind the guard. The grenade clinked once, then detonated with a blue flash. The guard stiffened, weapon dropping, as the pulse scrambled its nervous system. The body hit the floor silently. Cross stepped over it and moved on. Finally, he reached the cell block. Through the small barred windows, alien faces stared back at him, most thin, bruised, and hopeless. Then, at the far end, he saw her. The princess was sitting on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, silver hair tangled and dirty. Her long, delicate ears marked her as Talari, but her eyes were wide with suspicion and fear. When she saw Cross, she flinched back. He knelt to meet her gaze. "Princess Lasara?" She said something in Talari, her voice shaking. The translator on his wrist caught part of it. "You're human?" "Yes," Cross said slowly. "I'm here to take you home." Her eyes narrowed. "Humans are dangerous." "My mother said, I'm dangerous to them," Cross interrupted, nodding toward the corridor. "Not to you." She hesitated, glancing at the cell door. "They said they will sell me soon. Not if I have anything to say about it." Cross pulled a small hacking tool from his pocket and attached it to the door's control panel. Sparks flew and the lock clicked open. The door slid aside with a groan. Lasara didn't move at first, still unsure. So Cross slung his rifle over one shoulder and extended his hand. "You can stay here," he said quietly, "or you can trust me. Your choice." For a long second, she didn't respond. Then, slowly, she took his hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling. "Good," Cross said. "Stay behind me. Don't stop moving no matter what happens." They moved fast. The Kraitha were beginning to notice something was wrong. He could hear distant shouts and boots pounding on metal. Cross took every shortcut he remembered from studying the schematics. A group of 3 guards rounded the corner ahead. Cross shoved Lasara into a side alcove and fired 2 quick bursts. One guard dropped instantly, another stumbled back wounded, the third dove for cover. "Run!" Cross ordered. They sprinted past before the last guard could recover. The alarms began to blare, low, deep tones that vibrated through the walls. Red lights flashed, bathing the corridors in warning glow. The transport was locking down, sealing, bulkheads to trap intruders. Cross checked his wrist display. 3 minutes before the ship would jump. Too close. They reached the final corridor leading to the docking bay, only to find it blocked by 2 heavy blast doors. Lasara looked at him, panic rising. "We're trapped!" Cross scanned the wall and spotted a narrow maintenance duct above them. He boosted her up first, then pulled himself inside. The duct was cramped, dark, and hot, but it led them over the sealed doors. They dropped down on the other side, just as a squad of Kraitha soldiers charged into the bay from the far entrance. Cross shoved Lasara toward the shuttle's ramp. "Go! Get inside!" He turned to hold the soldiers off, firing controlled bursts. The Kraitha returned fire, plasma bolts slamming into crates and walls around him. One shot grazed his shoulder, burning through armor. Pain flared, but he kept shooting. The moment Lasara was aboard, Cross hit the ramp controls and sprinted inside. The shuttle's engines roared to life. As the docking clamps released, the transport's hyperspace engines surged. The ship shuddered, trying to pull away into the jump. Cross gritted his teeth and hit the magnetic release. The shuttle detached and dove hard, skimming along the transport's hull before peeling away. Through the cockpit window, Lasara watched the massive Kraitha ship vanish into hyperspace. Her voice was soft, uncertain. We made it?" "For now," Cross said, scanning for pursuit. "But they'll come after us." Her eyes met his. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know me." Cross's answer was simple, without hesitation. "Because someone has to." The warning chime echoed through the shuttle's cockpit. 3 red blips appeared on the radar screen, closing fast. Kraitha fighters. Daniel Cross tightened his grip on the controls. "They're not going to let you go without a fight," he muttered. Princess Lasara stood behind him, clutching the seat. Her silver hair was still messy from the cell, and her eyes were wide with fear. "They will kill us," she whispered. "Not if I get them first." Cross's voice was calm, almost too calm. War had taught him to stay steady when everything wanted him dead. The Kratha fighters split into a triangle formation, trying to surround the shuttle. They were fast, built for speed and precision strikes. Cross's shuttle was heavier, slower, but he knew one advantage he had: unpredictability. He slammed the throttle forward, then suddenly cut the engines. The shuttle drifted in silence, causing the lead fighter to overshoot. Cross fired 2 quick bursts from the shuttle's dorsal turret. The first shot missed. The second hit the fighter's wing, sending it spinning into debris. Lysara gasped. "You did it!" "2 more to go," Cross replied, already swinging the shuttle into a hard roll. The second fighter locked on, red targeting beams flashing across the shuttle's hull. A missile warning blared. Cross yanked the shuttle up and dove toward the asteroid belt ahead. The Kratha missile followed. He weaved between jagged rocks, pushing the shuttle harder than it was meant to go. The asteroid field was death for anyone who made a mistake. One wrong move and the shuttle would shatter. Lysara clung to the seat, her voice trembling. "This is madness. This is survival," Cross said. "Hold on." The missile drew closer, the warning beeps growing faster. Cross spotted a narrow gap between 2 spinning asteroids. He angled the shuttle toward it. The gap was barely wider than the shuttle's wings. He pushed through at full speed, the asteroid edges scraping the hull. The missile wasn't so lucky. It slammed into an asteroid and exploded in a flash of fire and rock. Lysara stared at him in shock. "How did you know we would fit?" "I didn't," Cross said with a faint smirk. "Just hoped we would." Only one fighter remained. It stayed back, cautious, scanning for an opening. Cross slowed the shuttle, pretending to be damaged. The fighter took the bait, moving in closer. Cross waited until it was almost on top of them, then flipped the shuttle backward in a sudden reverse thrust. The fighter filled the front view. Cross fired the main cannons. 2 bolts slammed into its cockpit. The Kratha ship exploded, scattering burning fragments into the void. Silence returned. The radar was clear. Cross leaned back in his seat, letting out a slow breath. Lysara finally sat down, still shaking. "You fight like no one I have ever seen." "That's humans for you," Cross said. "We don't quit, even when we should." She studied him for a moment. "When I first saw you, I thought you might be one of them. A killer." "I am a killer," Cross replied simply. "But I choose who I kill." Her voice softened. "And you chose to protect me." The shuttle left the asteroid field and drifted into calmer space. Cross set a course for the nearest neutral waypoint, but Lysara frowned. "They will follow us. The Kratha always follow until they get what they want." "They can try," Cross said. "But first I need to patch up the ship, and you." They moved to the back of the shuttle. Cross dug through the med kit, finding antiseptic and a thermal blanket. He noticed the raw bruises on her wrists, marks from shackles. "Hold still," he said gently. Lysara flinched at first when he touched her, but didn't pull away. In silence, he cleaned the cuts and wrapped her wrists. When he was done, she pulled the blanket around her shoulders. "My people say humans are dangerous because you come from a death world," she said quietly. "Your planet kills the weak. Only the strong survive." "Maybe that's true," Cross admitted. "But strength isn't just for fighting. It's for protecting those who can't fight." Her eyes met his. "You believe that?" "Every day," he said and meant it. An alert pinged on the console. Cross checked the screen and swore under his breath. A massive Kratha cruiser had just entered the system, blocking the only safe route out. Lysara's face went pale. "That ship could destroy us with one shot." "Then we'll make sure it doesn't get the chance," Cross said, already strapping back into the pilot seat. The cruiser was too big to fight head-on. Cross needed to be smarter than that. He steered the shuttle toward a drifting field of wreckage, remains of an ancient battle, now silent and forgotten. The wreckage gave them cover, masking their heat signature. The cruiser began scanning, unaware the shuttle was hiding among the broken ships. Lysara peered out the window. "How will we get past it?" "We wait," Cross said, "and then we hit them where it hurts." She gave him a questioning look. "You mean to fight that thing?" "I mean to make sure it's too busy to chase us." He began moving debris, with the shuttle's manipulator arms creating a loose cluster of wrecked fuel tanks in the cruiser's scanning path. When the cruiser got close enough, Cross fired a single well-placed shot at the cluster. The tanks erupted in a chain of explosions, rocking the cruiser and knocking out several of its sensor arrays. Before the Kraith could recover, Cross gunned the engines and shot out of the wreckage, slipping past the cruiser's flank. Lysara watched in amazement as the massive ship faded behind them. "You are different from the stories," she said. "Stories? My mother told me humans are reckless, that you cause more trouble than you solve." "She's not wrong," Cross said with a grin. "But sometimes trouble is exactly what you need." For the first time since he'd met her, Lysara smiled. It was small and tired, but real. Cross glanced at her. "We're not home yet, Princess. Things will get worse before they get better." Her smile didn't fade. "Then I will stay close to you, Protector." Cross blinked. "Protector?" "It is a sacred title in my culture," she explained. "Given only to one who risks everything, to save another." He didn't know what to say to that, so he simply nodded and kept flying. Cliffhanger. As they cleared the system, a new signal appeared on the radar. Not Kraith this time, but a wall of Talari warships ahead, all with weapons aimed at them. The moment the Talari warships appeared on the radar, Daniel Cross slowed the shuttle. Dozens of sleek silver vessels floated in formation, their polished hulls reflecting the distant starlight. Each ship was shaped like a blade, beautiful, but dangerous. And every single one of them had its weapons aimed at him. Lysara's hands tightened around the seat. "That is my mother's fleet." Cross raised an eyebrow. "She sure knows how to make an entrance." "This is not good," Lysara said quickly. "If they think you took me, they will destroy you." The comm system crackled to life. A deep, cold voice spoke in flawless galactic standard. "Unidentified human vessel, you have entered restricted Tahlari space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." Cross pressed the transmit button. "This is Sergeant Daniel Cross, Human Defense Forces. I have Princess Lysara aboard. She was kidnapped by the Kraith Syndicate. I rescued her." There was a pause on the other end. Then the voice returned. Harder now. "If you have the princess, release her immediately and surrender yourself for questioning. You will face judgment for your crimes," Cross muttered under his breath. "Judgment figures." A sudden bright light filled the cockpit. One of the warships was sweeping the shuttle with a scanning beam. The scan wouldn't take long, but it would pick up the fact that his weapons were still armed and the hull had fresh battle damage. To them, he probably looked like exactly what they feared: a pirate who had stolen their princess. Lysara leaned forward. "You must let me speak to them." Cross glanced at her. "You sure? If you say the wrong thing, they'll blow us apart." "Before I can blink," she met his eyes. "If I don't speak, they will still do it." He switched the comms to open channel. Lysara stepped closer to the mic, her voice steady but urgent. "This is Princess Lysara of the Tahlari sovereignty. The human with me is no enemy. He risked his life to save mine from the Kraitha. If you harm him, you will dishonor the sovereignty." Silence followed. Cross could almost feel the fleet deciding whether to believe her. Finally, a different voice answered, lighter but commanding. "Princess, is it truly you?" "Yes," Lysara said firmly. "I am alive because of this human. Stand down your weapons." The scanning beam cut off. One by one, the warships powered down their main guns, though their positions stayed tight. A single cruiser broke formation and moved closer, its docking bay opening like the mouth of a beast. "That's our ride, I guess," Cross said. Lysara placed a hand on his arm. "They will still treat you as a threat until my mother sees. You. Be careful." Cross gave a small smile. "I'm always careful." The cruiser swallowed the shuttle in its docking bay. Armed Talari soldiers surrounded them instantly, their armor shimmering with a faint blue energy. Cross kept his hands visible, rifle slung on his back, not wanting to give anyone an excuse. The soldiers' eyes were on him, their posture tense. He could tell they didn't like humans much. The docking ramp lowered, and Lysara stepped forward first. A collective gasp rippled through the soldiers. Some even dropped to one knee. She was alive, and to them that was a miracle. Cross followed her down the ramp, feeling the weight of every stare. 2 soldiers stepped forward, their weapons raised. "Human," one said coldly. "You will come with us." Lysara moved between them. "He comes with me." "That is against protocol," the soldier replied. "It is an order," Lysara snapped, surprising even Cross. They led them through the cruiser's gleaming corridors, high arching halls lined with silver panels and flowing light strips. The air smelled faintly of flowers, a sharp contrast to the rust and oil of the Kraith ship. Cross noticed how the soldiers walked, perfectly in step, precise, disciplined. It reminded him of human honor guards, but with a cold elegance that humans didn't have. At the end of the corridor, a pair of massive doors opened silently. Beyond them was the throne chamber. Queen Veyrana sat upon a raised silver seat, her long gown shimmering like liquid light. Her eyes, sharp, piercing, fixed instantly on Lysara. She rose to her feet. "Mother!" Lysara cried, rushing forward. Veyrana met her halfway, gathering her into her arms. For a long moment, there was no sound except the quiet hum of the room. Cross could see the queen's shoulders trembling. "My child," Veyrana whispered. "I feared you were gone forever." Lysara's voice broke. "Mom, I'm back. He saved me." Veyrana looked past her daughter, her gaze falling on Cross. Her eyes hardened. "You are the human who took her from the Kraitha?" Cross stood straight. "Yes, Your Majesty. You fought them. Yes, you killed them. As many as I had to." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Why?" Cross's answer was simple. "Because no one else was coming for her." The queen studied him for several long seconds. Then she stepped closer. "Our histories tell us humans are reckless, dangerous, quick to fight, slow to listen." Cross didn't flinch. "Your histories aren't wrong. But sometimes reckless is exactly what saves lives." Veyrana's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "Perhaps." Lysara stepped between them. "Mother, please. He risked everything for me. If you punish him, you punish honor itself." Veyrana's gaze softened at her daughter's words. She turned back to Cross. "You will remain aboard until we return to the sovereignty capital. Then, perhaps, I will decide if you are guest or prisoner." Cross gave a small nod. "Fair enough." As the queen led her daughter away, Lysara glanced back. Her eyes met Cross's, and she mouthed a single word: "Protector." Cross stayed where he was as the soldiers surrounded him again. He'd faced warlords, pirates, and death itself, but this, standing in the middle of an alien fleet, uncertain of his fate, felt different. The Talari fleet cut through space like a line of silver blades. Inside the command chamber of the royal cruiser, the air was tense. Queen Veyrana sat in the center, surrounded by her commanders. Daniel Cross stood near the wall, under the watchful eyes of 2 guards. A sharp tone rang from the main console. "Your Majesty," a commander said, his voice tight. "Long-range scans confirm it. Kraitha Warfleet, 20 ships strong, heading straight for the capital." The room went silent. Verana's voice was calm but heavy. ETA? 6 hours, the commander replied. They know we have the princess. They want her back. Cross stepped forward. Then you can't let them reach the capital. The nearest guard growled. Silence, human. Verana raised a hand. Let him speak, Cross pointed at the tactical display. If you fight them at the capital, you'll be defending civilians. Too many will die. You have to stop them before they get there. A commander shook his head. We are not ready for open battle. Then be ready for one you can win, Cross said. You've got speed. You've got better tech. They've got numbers and no brains. Use it. Verana studied him for a moment. You sound as though you have fought against greater odds. Before? Cross's voice was flat. I have. And I'm still here. Lysara, standing near her mother, looked at the queen. Mother, listen to him. He saved me when there was no hope. He can help us now. The queen's gaze moved between her daughter and Cross. Finally, she nodded. Very well, human. Speak your plan. Cross stepped to the hollow map. We hit them here. He marked a point on the map. At the old drift field, a graveyard of wrecked ships from your last war. Tight spaces, lots of debris. Their numbers won't matter if they can't maneuver. And you propose? Verana asked. A trap, Cross said simply. We hide in the wreckage, lure them in, hit them from all sides. Humans call it an ambush. You call it whatever you want. Just do it fast. An hour later, the fleet moved. The silver warships glided toward the drift field, their weapons ready. But cold, waiting for the perfect moment. The wreckage of ancient battles surrounded them. Twisted hulls, shattered engines, broken weapons drifting in the dark. Cross stood in the auxiliary command deck, armored and armed. He wasn't part of their military, but the Queen had given him permission to coordinate one section of the trap. Lysara entered quietly, dressed in ceremonial armor. You should be in the safe chamber, Cross said. She shook her head. You are my protector. Where you stand, I stand. Cross didn't argue. Deep down, he knew he'd fight harder, knowing she was near. The Kratha fleet arrived on schedule. Their black, spiked ships pushed into the drift field, scanning for targets. Their leader's voice snarled over an open channel. Return the princess, or we will burn your world. Verana's voice cut back, calm, cold, and royal. Come and take her if you can. That was the signal. The drift field came alive. Hidden Talari ships powered up, weapons blazing. Beams of silver light cut through the Kratha formation, shattering their lead ships. Cross directed his squadron through a narrow wrecked corridor, flanking a group of Kratha frigates. He fired precision shots at their engines, crippling them, before they could turn to fight. Lysara stayed at the sensor console, warning him of enemy movements. 3 ships coming from the east sector, she called. Cross grinned. Not for long. He maneuvered the Talari interceptors into position. When the Kraith ships entered the kill zone, they were met with a barrage of torpedoes from hidden launchers. 2 exploded instantly. The third limped away, smoking. On the main channel, a commander shouted, "The trap is working. Their formation is broken." But victory never came easy. The Kratha flagship forced its way through the wreckage, guns blazing. It was massive, easily twice the size of any Talari ship, and heading straight for the Queen's cruiser. Cross cursed. "They're going for your mother!" Lysara's voice was sharp. "Then we stop them!" He pushed the throttle to full, diving straight toward the flagship's bow. The Talari ships tried to keep up, but Cross was already weaving through the wreckage, dodging gunfire. The flagship loomed ahead, its main cannon charging. Cross didn't have the firepower to destroy it, but he didn't need to. He aimed for a drifting battleship husk wedged between 2 larger wrecks. "Lysara, hang on!" He fired at the husks, weak points. The ancient ship split apart, collapsing into the path of the Kraith flagship. The enemy captain tried to swerve, but it was too late. The massive wreck slammed into its hull, tearing through armor and sending the flagship spinning. The Talari fleet seized the moment. Dozens of silver beams tore into the crippled flagship, ripping it apart in a chain of explosions. When the fire cleared, the Kratha fleet was in full retreat. The drift field was quiet again, except for the fading echoes of battle. Back on the royal cruiser, the atmosphere was different, still tense, but alive with victory. Queen Veyrana stood at the center of the chamber, her head high. Her gaze fell on Cross as he entered with Lysara. "You fought as one of us," she said, "and you saved not only my daughter, but my people." Cross shrugged lightly. "All in a day's work." Lysara stepped forward, her voice strong. "Mother, there is no honor great enough to thank him, but we must try." Veyrana reached into the folds of her gown and produced a silver pendant, shaped like a star with a glowing blue gem at its center. She placed it in Cross's hand. "This is the seal of the Protector," she said. "It is given only to those who have shown unmatched courage in defense of our own. Wherever you go, this will speak for you." Cross closed his hand around it. "Thank you, Your Majesty." As the fleet turned toward the capital, Lysara stood beside him. "You will leave soon," she said quietly. "Yeah," Cross replied. "I've got a planet to get back to." She smiled faintly. "Then take this. With you, Protector, so you remember that somewhere in the stars you have a friend who owes you everything." He looked at her, then at the Queen. Two people he'd never expected to meet, let alone save. And for the first time in years, he felt something more than duty. When the fleet reached the capital, the Talari streets were filled with light. Crowds gathered, cheering for their princess. Lysara stood with her mother on the palace steps, waving to her people. Cross stayed back, watching quietly. He didn't belong in the spotlight. He never had. But when Lysara's eyes found his in the crowd, she mouthed the same words she had said before. "Protector." Later, as he prepared to leave in his shuttle, he slipped the pendant over his neck. The blue gem caught the light, shining against his armor. The galaxy was still dangerous. But now, somewhere out there, he knew there was a place where a human soldier was more than just a fighter. He was a protector.